one more note before we cut into the interview. I just want to encourage everyone, if you're home or in a safe place and you have some alcohol with you, perhaps a beer, some beers, or some wine, I'm going to encourage you to play the Malcolm Ingram drinking game. And the way you play this game, the rules are very simple. Anytime you hear Malcolm say literally, the word literally, feel free to take a sip. However, I will say, do this at your own expense. I have not counted yet, but there's a lot of them. And, hey, send us your count when you get a chance. I hope Malcolm's a good sport. I think he'll get a kick out of this. But there you go. So play along at home. Literally the Malcolm Ingram drinking game. So enjoy that while you listen to this interview. Here we go. Malcolm Ingram.
Hey.
Hey. Very nice to meet you.
Cyberly.
Yes.
This is so cool.
It's cool. I'm telling you, is it Gene?
Yes.
Gene had contacted me a couple of times, and it's been a crazy couple of months. And then I was like, you know what, fuck it. Like I'll do it in an hour.
Awesome.
Better than planning in something in May, because I know I'll forget and it'll never happen. I haven't podcasted in a while, so it's kind of fun.
I know. You are like a pioneer of sorts. You and your mom.
No, I'm not a pioneer, but I certainly was a hanger-on.
A trailblazer? What would you call someone who rode the wave?
I rode the wave.
Yeah.
A wave runner?
But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, not everyone, you can't always be the first.
I mean, I was very lucky. I mean, Kevin did that thing, and I was, part of it for a while, and no, it was great. It was a lot. I mean, it's literally this little kind of diary of 3 years of my life. And it's really weird when you stop, because it was a great constant, and then you kind of stop, and it's kind of weird. It actually started to really stress me out, because I didn't have a podcasting partner weekly. Like I had different, me and Marja did it for a while, and then I had other people and stuff. But after a while, you kind of get sick of chasing people to do it with, because people would just be like, "Fuck, I don't want to do it." You know what I mean? That became a hassle.
Well, I think the reason it's working on this end is we've kind of tapped into a deep well of fandom.
Yes.
There you go.
I mean, everybody seems to like it.
All things Smitty, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's so surprising. I mean, it's funny because I remember very early on when I was up at the Stash, I asked Walter to be on, and he was, first of all, shocked that there was a show about Kevin solely dedicated to him.
How the fuck could that guy be shocked that there's a show about? It's just the guy's livelihood is based on Kevin. How could he be shocked that there's a show based on?
It was just
he's on a show that Kevin created for him.
Yes.
How could he be shocked that there's a?
Well, and at the time he was like, "Well, how many episodes you got?" And I think we were at 10 at the time. So I'm like, "Well, we got 10." And he was like, "Whoa, wow! You get anything beyond 6 was kind of impressive."
So who have you had on? Is it a guest-based show?
Yes, it is a guest-based show.
Who have we had on? We've had on Ernie O'Donnell. We've had on Kevin himself. In January was on. We've had Marilyn Gigliotti, Scott Schiaffo, Bob Hawke, who is incredible.
He's very cool. He's coming on again soon.
Yeah, Bob Hawke, it's his birthday today.
Yes, it is. That's why we had to mention him.
And it's also Jennifer Schwalbach's birthday, too.
They share a birthday,
the Schwally
I did not
birthday.
realize that.
Happy birthday.
Bob Hawke is amazing. I love Bob Hawke.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a good guy. We had him on the show, and then we went out to dinner with him after, and it was one of those, time of our lives kind of nights. It was just a lot of fun.
That man's got stories.
Oh, he sure did.
Yes.
That man's been there. He's kind of, he's really kind of had a Zelig kind of life.
And he's 77 today?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And he says, he's still rolling.
He's great.
Oh, he is. He's great. I mean, he's been always very supportive. Well, actually, he hated drawing flies. And he said the legendary line where basically when I was very much in the closet back in the day, Bob Hawke watched Drawing Flies, and he said that I need to get fucked in the ass cosmically.
He told us that story over dinner.
Yeah, and I took him literal. I'm like, all right, I'll get fucked in the ass, and there you go. Small 10 gay bar popped up.
Well, speaking of that, I loved it.
Yeah, it is a good movie.
Thank you. Yeah,
Very powerful.
It worked out. I was very lucky to meet some really incredible people.
Wow.
It's hard to watch. It's very hard to watch.
What? I'm so why?
No.
There's some of the hard stuff.
I mean, there's some rough moments.
I'm not saying it's hard to watch in that it's
You're just
filmed
like,
like
it's so
shit.
fucking bad.
Yeah.
No, it's not even
No,
that.
no,
It's just
like
the hate
like
part.
how the kids, how these guys get killed.
Yeah, there was some absolutely Scotty Joe Weaver. That was a
Yes.
horrible thing to deal with. But and I had to interview his brother, and his brother had been like Scotty Joe Weaver's brother. I interviewed him a couple of months after it happened. For those who don't know, Scotty Joe Weaver was a kid who was brutally murdered by 3 people in Bay Minette, Alabama, I believe in 2005. Oof. And brutally murdered. And I interviewed his brother for a small town gay bar, and it was just that's actually when I learned. Like basically, before I did that interview, I was just like I had never done a doc. This was Small Town Gay Bar was my first documentary, and I felt like a real idiot, and I felt like a bit of a fraud because I'm like, what right do I have to put this guy through like reliving that horrible experience when I've never even done a documentary before? And at that point, I was like, this movie has to be excellent for me to deserve to like make this guy go through this for my documentary. Yeah. So that's kind of where I kind of made a pact with myself as a documentarian that I didn't want to suck. Because, man, if you see my narratives, they suck. So,
well, it was an excellent film.
Thank you so much.
Who physically did the shooting? Who was on camera?
A guy named Johnny Cliff, who was a friend of mine from university, from the 1 year I went to university. But he's kind of an old friend of mine. And he actually went on that. He ended up shooting like Brian De Palma's Redacted. Wow. And he's kind of done a bunch of stuff since then. But no, it was basically 4 friends in the South who shot that. It was people that I knew very well, and it was a very interesting kind of we went upriver with that movie. It was very intense.
Yeah, and it looks good.
Well, yeah, I mean, Johnny did great. It's funny because I just 2 weeks ago, coming back from South by Southwest, I just went back to all the locations and stuff. It was a really weird trip. Like I did a road trip. We went down to New Orleans and Biloxi for a while, and then I came up through like Meridian, and it's one of the bars is completely burned down, and the other bar has been turned into a church. So it was just that was kind of weird to see.
Yeah, it's funny. The subject matter, we had some friends, my friend Max. We used to live in Virginia for about 10 years. Okay. And they had friends who lived in, not Nashville.
You're talking about Bonnaroo?
Bonnaroo.
All right.
So
it's about an hour south of Nashville.
Okay, yeah. So they have friends who live there. And they visited the friends one year, and they went out to this great, I think it was an Italian restaurant in the area. The food was excellent. And then he told us that they went back the next year. Place was gone. They had burned it down because they found out the owners were gay.
God damn them gays, huh?
They ruin everything.
So
they do.
Yeah, I mean,
it's funny because this weekend I was just in Indiana, and because there's a bunch of protests going on and stuff, and I wanted to kind of see what was all going on. And it's really, it's sad because Indiana's got this horrible rap now. Like literally, people just treat it like it's like Nazi Germany, like it's Germany in like, the beer hall putsch kind of days in the 30s. But like you go there and all the people are just mortified that it's just like, what happened? Like we're not like this. Please trust us. We're not like this at all. Like they all are absolutely horrified at kind of what's gone on. It's really, it's kind of, it's sad to see because they're all like, nobody was paying attention and this, and this bill got passed and it's, but it's just like, it proves you gotta pay attention. Like I'm the idiot who like was, I didn't know who the prime minister was at one point, so I can't really point fingers at people.
So when did you say you politically became aware?
I mean, it's really funny because like that experience, I'd been outside of Canada for 2 years at that point, and I wasn't immersed in Canadian politics. So I grew up a punk rocker. I used to protest. But it was literally, I'd been awake for 3 days, like with Kevin gambling. I know there's you can't really make excuses, and it just sounds like I'm making bullshit excuses. But
No. Okay, if I could just interrupt you for one moment.
Sure.
And just say, everybody, I want to welcome to the show, Malcolm Ingram. We've been rolling now for about 10 minutes.
Non-stop talking.
Yes, we've been rolling now for 10 minutes, and I realized I haven't even introduced you yet.
Who is this guy we're talking to?
We just kind of connected and rolled.
Just a loudmouth. I'm a blowhard. That's what I am.
Dude, you're great. This is great.
Oh, you know what?
Just keep back and letting you go. And the reason for those listening who don't know who Malcolm may be, why you're on a Kevin Smith-based show, Malcolm was at one point, or I mean, I don't know what your relationship is with Kevin now. You can tell us. But at one point, he had you, you were like his best buddy and pal, and you really, seems like you were with him at a time when he was definitely in some crisis.
Me and Kevin have both been through, we've both been through a lot together. I mean, he's certainly still, I consider him a brother. Absolutely. We just kind of, he kind of went down a path and I went down a path, and we still talk and stuff. I don't see him as much as we used to, but it's just kind of, he got caught up in his world and I got caught up in my world. And I mean, again, there was no, there was a bit of argy-bargy at the beginning, but that's just how, like, me and that motherfucker have had so many ridiculous fights in our lifetime that it's common. It's like, it's family. I fight with Kevin like you fight with your family. So, but ultimately it just kind of like, he kind of, like he was building empires and shit like that. He's a busy guy. Like,
how did you guys meet?
Shit. Like,
how did you meet?
How did I meet Kevin? I met Kevin in 1994.
Wow.
I was working for a magazine called Film Threat.
Okay.
And I met him at the Toronto Film Festival when he was there with Clerks.
Okay.
And we ended up going out for dinner. And I had no idea who he was. I had no real idea what Clerks was. I hadn't seen it yet or anything. And a friend of mine who was the editor of Film Threat kind of invited us all out for dinner. And I ended up going, and I was wearing a 90210 T-shirt. And one of the first things we were talking about was he was going to do this movie called Mallrats.
Uh-huh.
And out of nowhere, I said, if you're doing a movie called Mallrats, you have to put Shannon Doherty in it. I had this big, long bullshit explanation of why it would work. But, I mean, from my lips to God's ears.
You were right.
That was literally our first conversation was
okay, hang on.
Movie Mallrats, and he's got and I was like, you have to put Shannon Doherty in it.
I have to interrupt you for 1 second.
Bringing her into audition just because, like, basically, like, they were like, do you want to see Shannon Doherty? And Kevin was like, yeah, that'd be kind of like, and they got her to say hi to me on a tape. and then she came in, and then they loved her, I guess. I love Shannon Doherty, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, when I was, I was 24, I guess, when that came out. 25. Yeah, I was pretty hot for her.
I was living in 93. I was living in Vancouver. It would have been 93. Yeah, I guess 92, 93. I was living in Vancouver, smoking a lot of weed, watching 90210 religiously, and I lived in this house where I lived in the living room, and I bought all these Shannon Doherty posters, and I had a wall of Shannon. I love Shannon Doherty, and when I finally met her, it was like she's one of the few people in my life I've been starstruck by. Like, I've never Affleck and all those guys. I mean, because I knew them before they were, but Shannon Doherty is just kind of like meeting her was just such a thrill.
I believe it. I mean, if you were into her, definitely.
It's fucking Brenda, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Brenda, like, yeah. I mean, no, but and she was really like I did an interview with her for Film Threat, and it was literally like interviewing like an idol. Well, I wouldn't call Shannon Doherty an idol, but I was definitely kind of like it would be like a teenage girl interviewing Taylor Swift. Like, I was very like, I was very thrilled.
I think that's kind of like I was when I interviewed Kelly Carlin to some degree.
Yeah.
And probably when I interviewed Kevin.
And Kevin.
Yeah.
Like,
really? Kelly Carlin?
Yeah.
She was awesome.
Yeah, she was awesome.
But what does she do?
Right now she's got she's writing a book about her life with George, and
she does
and right now she's doing a one-woman show about that.
Does she really?
And she has a podcast.
That girl's got that woman has incredible blood running in her veins.
Yeah, she really does.
I've never met her or anything. I know that Kevin's got a relationship with her stuff. I've never met her or anything. I never knew what she did. I was just, I knew, of course, who her father was, but I never knew what she did.
And she's got a podcast on the network.
Where do these usually go?
As long as the guest wants to put up with us.
Really? How long? Kevin must have been a while. Kevin could talk.
Kevin was
but Kevin has Megan and all the other people around him to pull him away. So, and plus it was very late.
I don't have a Megan.
It was also very late at the Stash during one of those poker games.
You did it live.
Yeah, he was really doing us a favor.
Yes, face to face.
It was really what it came down to. Yeah.
Why was he doing you a favor? You do a podcast about him.
He went out of his way for us because he was double stacked. Like he's got this big poker tournament going on, and yet he pulls away from an hour to
he
podcast.
Is absolutely, and like no bullshit, he is one of the most generous guys. Like he is literally one of the most insanely generous people I know. It comes from a Catholic upbringing, but it kind of like I mean, I don't think he's so much a Catholic now, but it's just kind of like he's got a very like. I knew Kevin for less than a year, and he gave me $50,000 to make my first movie.
Wow,
like literally, like he's got an incredibly generous spirit. Yeah, I'm back. You just dropped that a bit.
Okay. Maybe he'll come back uncredited. Do one of those unnamed cameos.
At this point, I don't even care if he's in it. I just don't want to see Affleck holding two fingers up. You know what I mean? It's like, the completionist of me is just kind of like, come on, Affleck. Even if you're not going to do the movie, just send two fingers up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know.
You know what, man? We're all just getting older, and it's just like when we were young and goofy and stuff, there's a lot more time, and Yeah.
I
mean, I know for a fact that those are two dudes who love each other dearly, and I think that, but I think that again, time and whatever shit gets in the way. It's sad, but that's what getting old is. It's all about shit. Shit just begins to get in the way.
Yeah. Seems like Kev though is actually going through a more nostalgic period. He's always sort of a nostalgic.
He's always
romantic.
Kevin is an incredibly nostalgic person. It's really wonderful, actually. He's got a very sweet heart.
He does.
Yeah.
But he's always been very nostalgic. He's like even when he was young, he was nostalgic. Like he was, his nostalgia is deep, in his veins.
And he can spin a great yarn.
That's his bread and butter, sir. He's the best. I mean, I learned anything I know about talking in front of people, which I would if I hadn't had Kevin as kind of Kevin. I'd be lying if I wasn't like he's a mentor. He's always been a mentor to me, and I think that a lot of things. I mean, everything that I have is almost directly attributable to Kevin. I mean, he's totally given me a lot, and but no, I mean, he really. Like he's a great orator, he had it back in like '94. His Q&As for Clerks were better than Clerks. Not saying Clerks isn't a great movie, but his Q&As for Clerks were it was literally an incredible show. It was a stand-up show, and he built from that. And it was really kind of cool to see how he kind of built from that and then started doing the evening whiffs and now the podcast and everything. I miss him doing the solo stuff.
And you were there pre-weed and post-weed, too. You were there for the weed transition.
No, I mean, I was, he hasn't, he only started smoking weed a lot after Zach and Mary.
Yeah.
But I think it's really, the whole thing about the weed is just like, I had a conversation with Kevin on the set of Zach and Mary, and we were talking, and he was saying that he'd done it all. I think he was bored. I mean, I think that he was just he felt that he'd done it all. And it's just so wonderful that life came and kicked him in the ass and just kind of he never thought, the stuff that he's been doing now, he never in a million years thought he'd be doing. And I think it's so completely wonderful. I mean, he's had so many distinct different careers. It's been incredible to watch. And it's funny because he's a totally different person. The pre and post weed Kevin are very different, and they're both completely interesting and amazing in their own completely different ways.
From a third person looking out, I really like. I see a very cool progression in his personality since he's started smoking. He's become much more progressive in his thinking, much more.
He's just more playful. I mean, I think that like the one thing Kevin did. Kevin was always kind of very much aware of what people were saying about him, and I think that once he started smoking weed, he just stopped caring. He doesn't like. Right now, you're seeing Kevin do like he doesn't give a fuck. I mean, I think he does stuff for himself, and I think that. I think that's a wonderful. He's given so much. Literally, like he's given like. His generosity has overflowed. He's given us some great films. He's given us some great stuff, and I think now he's playing it a little bit. And I think that some very interesting stuff really is coming from it. Like Red State was a completely fascinating movie,
fucking amazing.
I mean, who the fuck would ever have like Tusk? Because it's so funny because the whole time Tusk was happening, I wasn't around, and for the first that's the first film set that I never went on. But there was it's Red State. I mean that movie was a blast.
Fucking intense. The scene where the guy gets capped, with the fucking saran wrap. That fucking bent my mind.
I mean, it's
disturbing.
And Tusk was just. I mean, like I remember,
Tusk is becoming Lebowski to me.
After I watched it, he was like, "What'd you think?" And I hadn't read the script or anything. I literally kind of went in cold. I of course knew what was happening, but I didn't know. And I was just like, that's only you could have made this film. This is the most like to get like somebody as Johnny Depp having fun like that. Like it was such an audacious and interesting and kind of a fun piece. Like it was just, and fucking Johnny Depp showing up to me was literally one of the weirdest things. Like it was so weird. That performance is so fun and playful, and it was great to see Johnny Depp, who I'm such a huge fan of his, but to see him kind of come and play, it was great. It was so much fun, and I saw about a half an hour of Yoga Hosers.
Oh wow, lucky you!
I was literally,
I can't wait to see it.
I was literally like, if you thought like it's the progression from Tusk. Sorry, the progression from Red State to Tusk to Yoga, like Yoga Hosers is fucking crazy.
Cool.
But it's kind of literally, it's so audacious. How it's just kind of like, it's like, you're like, how the fuck do you think about this? And like, how do you get it to the point where you're filming it? Because it's so absurd and crazy, and it's so awesome for that. Like I have a great admiration for kind of the fun that he's having. I think it's great, and it's great because he's kind of he's really connected back with Muse again, and Muse has worked really hard to stay off drug. Yeah. That's another reason why I've been around as much. Is I think that like Muse and Kevin have had a very complicated road, and I think that I was kind of like when Muse was on, like Kevin likes having a cohort. Kevin likes having a sidekick. Yeah. I mean, as Silent Bob. I mean, he loves to have a sidekick. So I was kind of, I think, Jay is the original sidekick, and when Jay wasn't around, I was the sidekick, and Moja's been the sidekick, and Johnson's been the sidekick. So we've all been the sidekick. But I think that now that Muse is back and he's kind of, he's got his life together, I think that they have a really great partnership now.
Which is great.
Which is great to see.
Yeah. And Jordan's there to keep it all in line.
Jordan's kicking ass. She just had a baby. I'm like, how do you have time? Like that girl is really incredible. Right. And basically, and then Jen's kind of there holding it all together. It's a real family affair.
I've been wanting to say, I think Jen picked up your pronunciation of the word literally.
She says it.
Yeah, she says literally, just like you do.
Just like you.
Oh, I mean, I have to. Yeah, I think she. I mean,
she's got the same rrhythm.
I'm sure she damns that she sounds like that's funny. But Jen is truly the one who kind of puts it all. She is the one that kind of keeps it all in line. Like she's driving that bus. I've seen moments where. She's she's incredibly supportive of Kevin, like, and through some really dark times, and some really complicated times, she's really, she's pretty incredible person. I think that she likes being background. I mean, I think Kevin really loved having a podcast and stuff, but she really likes to be in the background,
and we as a couple loved listening to that show.
That was such a great show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like the fact that they did it in their. I mean, it was funny the fact they did their living room and stuff.
Yeah. It was
Like
one of the cooler shows.
that was kind of one thing where I really regret is that I wasn't like those. I missed those days. Like I kind of went out. I went off to do my documentary Continental, and when those guys started having fun, and it was, I listened to it and stuff, and I felt sad because I felt I was missing out on a good time.
Yeah. Were you? But you were there for like the Smod Castle days.
I was there. I left when the Smod Castle closed down because basically that was my bread and butter was kind of performing there, and there was no way I was going to be able to perform on City Walk.
Yeah.
So but I mean it was a really cool creative time. Like Kevin kind of opened up a clubhouse, and we all kind of came and played. It was a lot of. I mean I still can't believe that I kind of lived in LA and performed weekly at like this little playhouse in Hollywood. It's a very weird thing to think about now.
It's sort of like his lost weekend period, Do you know about John Lennon?
Kevin's on a long lost weekend. Like it's all lost, and I mean that in the most respectful of ways.
Well,
but
it's like John Lennon. John Lennon apparently had a situation wherein Yoko said, "Okay."
Yoko told him to get the fuck out.
Yeah, but then
he
also
went with Ming. What was her name? Pang.
Yeah,
Pang.
assigned him a girlfriend at the same time. Yeah.
Really?
And then, like, a year later, came back.
And he was one of the Hollywood vampires with Elton John.
Yeah.
And Harry Nilsson and Alice Cooper and all those guys.
John Bonham was in that mix, too.
Yeah.
Oh, I never heard of that.
Yeah. And I think Keith Moon, too.
But I mean, I don't think Kevin's in such a rough and tumble.
No, his is much more podcasty.
Ultimately, I mean, his wife is with him and supporting him, kind of, and it's kind of. I just think that like Kevin, Kevin had an incredible career, and basically he continues to have an incredible career. I just think that it's constantly evolving, and I think that he, most importantly, wants to keep himself interested, and I think that's a great thing. Yeah. I mean, I mean, for even one filmmaker to have a Dogma chasing Amy, I mean, those are pretty incredible works.
Can you believe this Mallrats buzz? I mean, not only is it not.
I mean, of course I believe.
I mean, me too. As a fan, I love it, but it's so amazing.
I mean, Mallrats is very much. I mean, as Kevin himself will say, Mallrats is basically the entrance. It's the gateway picture. It's the one that
so many.
Most people think it's Clerks and stuff, but Mallrats is the one that kind of brings most people in. My favorite of them all is Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Love it. So much fun. So much fun. Love that movie.
Look at this. We're basically we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, right?
Geeking out. Yes. Totally
we're
geeking out. We're
supposed to be talking about the man, right? Yes. I guess.
Yes. Wait, before we get off, you have to tell us about Party Bus.
Oh, there was
and the
bus.
Willis.
No, I mean the Party Bus was kind of that was I'll take total credit for that. No, I mean I've been given the credit. No, because Kevin had to get back to Cop Out. Me, Kevin, and Moser were going to go back to Cop Out after playing hockey in Brantford.
Okay. So this must have been in June.
And basically, I was just like, well, fucking, let's get a party bus. Like, because he had to catch a limo. I was just like, well, let's get a party bus and just fucking drive there. So we did. So me, Moser, and Kevin basically took a bus from Brantford to New York City.
That's so great.
And it was the gayest thing in the world. We just got all these big blankets and pillows and stuff. And we just, it was like, instead of partying, we bastically had a pajama party.
Oh, wow. That's right, the body pillows.
The body pillows, yeah.
The body pillows.
Yeah. And then there was, Cop Out was such an incredibly bizarre. That was such a weird experience. So again, I've been on a lot of Kevin sets, but that movie was so big. It was like this big Warner Brothers movie, and every day going to work and seeing Bruce Willis. I mean, that whole Cop Out experience, because essentially you were going to this. Usually the movies are. This was a big Hollywood Warner Brothers movie with like you're going to every day to see a guy like Bruce Willis.
Return of Bruno
On set. of course, Kevin and again, don't think I'm telling tales of the school, but I mean, Kevin and Bruce had a very tumultuous relationship.
Yeah.
Which sucks because Kevin was a huge Bruce Willis fan.
I get it. Like, Bruce Willis certainly had, Bruce Willis wasn't always a pile of fun. But I still, I love Bruce Willis. I still do. And I mean, I understand Kevin's thing about it, but it's just like, I just thought it was cool.
I still like Die Hard. I mean,
no, but the thing with Bruce Willis, like, had nothing invested in me. So Bruce Willis was very playful with me, actually. So I wasn't directing him. I had nothing. I was literally kind of the fat hanger.
You were Kevin's weird friend.
Yeah. So basically, Bruce Willis was kind of was nice to me to a point, and then I think that near the end, everybody got sick of each other. But Coppa was a really weird. That was a really weird kind of great experience. I mean, it's really funny because of Kevin, I've had so many completely bizarre and weird and wonderful experiences that you can't. It got really weird for a while because you kind of come back home and you have these incredible. It's like you get flown off on this magic carpet. You go and have these bizarre experiences where you're like. You're hanging out at like Johnny Depp's house. You're going all these really weird, wonderful things, and then you come back home and you're kind of back with your friends from around, your friends you grew up, and you can't really talk about it because people are either they're just like, yeah, whatever, like they don't believe you, or they're just like, I don't want to hear about your fucking like dynamite adventures. Fuck
your
off.
jet set life.
There you go. See, I mean, I don't know. I was a deluxe couch surfer. Yeah. I surfed a lot of really nice couches.
That's very cool. That's a nice way to look at it. It was cool. I mean, I got to be a fly on a wall of and the thing is, and you ended up a filmmaker somehow too. I mean, I guess if you hang out with filmmakers, you'll pick up filmmakering.
I stumbled into, literally just by. But I mean, I got to witness. I mean, I learned so much because, like, I was kind of, I got to see it from the beginning. Like, I was there from '94, so and Kevin is absolutely one of the most influential and important independent filmmakers that America has ever seen.
Yes, and I think right now he's going through a second renaissance. He's going through rebirth.
Then he's just following kind of an interesting career. I mean, I think that, I just think it's just an interesting continuation. And then, like, it was a weird time because there was Zack and Ridge was rough. And then there was the Too Fat to Fly, which happened when he was leaving, doing a live podcast at a bear event in San Francisco with me.
That's right.
So that literally happened. Like,
you were right in the middle of it.
Responsible for that. and then Cop Out. So it was like this really 1, 2, 3 punch.
Yep. It sent him like in a weird place. He was, getting dark.
I think it was rough. I think that sometimes when you feel, sometimes you feel the tide is with you, and sometimes you feel the tide is against you, and sometimes the tide was really overwhelming against him, and unfairly so.
Yeah, but I think through that.
I mean, Cop Out. There's so many fucking asshole, fucking idiot, faggy bloggers out there who are so ready to take shots at the dude, and it's literally like you just see online, you just like I won't even grace by saying their names, but it's just like there's just these annoying fucking gnats that just literally just want to.
So what you're saying is he's the Rush of independent movie makers.
No, nobody wants to cut down Rush.
Oh, dude. Well, maybe not in Canada, but if you read a lot of their old reviews, they used to get a lot of shit.
Yeah, but they said that about Zeppelin. No,
true too.
I think, but with Kevin, it's different though because Kevin's got a bunch of nerdy little jackasses who basically there's just so much envy going on with that guy because he made it, right?
Yeah.
And he made it literally on his own. Like he literally, he believed in himself. He put his money where his mouth was. Like I can't even say that about myself because Kevin helped me.
Yeah, dude.
So but Kevin is completely a self-made man. whenever he tried stuff like Cop Out, like he wanted to go try and making he's been offered so many big studio movies, and he wanted to go make a big studio movie, so he went and made one, and then they fucking then they go after him for it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I just wanted to say
I can't believe I'm talking about Kevin so.
But dude, I mean, I started this show so that I could just talk about Kevin, and fucking, it's been magical.
So that's all that happens on the show is people like. Did Ernie talk about anything but Kevin?
Actually, Ernie was really cool because a few weeks prior to us sitting down with Ernie, they had done on Smodcasts a show they called Blue Horizons, which was them reading his old yearbook, the signatures people wrote.
What?
That was what he did. That episode was.
Who did that? Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin read out of his old yearbook. He read, and one of them was Ernie's.
That old nostalgic fellow.
Yes, the old romantic nostalgic.
He was reading his yearbook?
Yeah, he was reading the inscriptions.
He's got better material than that. Come on.
Well,
really?
it was an excellent episode
was good.
because then we got to play that. We played it to him, and he heard it firsthand, Kevin reading this stuff to him, and it was really cool to get his reaction. But,
very cool.
Yeah, it was. So we've had.
So what did I'm curious what other people talked about.
we've had Andrew McElfresh on like 3 times now.
I see. I remember, and we met McElfresh because McElfresh was the segment producer on the Tonight Show. I haven't seen Andrew McElfresh in a long time.
You know what's funny?
Cool guy.
He's doing the special effects in the movie you just saw an hour of.
He's doing the effects? He's an effects guy?
He's doing all the digital effects of that film.
That's how I reacted, too. I was like, what?
He's a very handy guy.
I knew McElfresh from back in the days when we were doing when Kevin was doing those Tonight Show bits. What is the... it's Education. What is the name of the podcast?
Education.
Now, what is that podcast? I've never heard of. What is that podcast about?
So the show it's supposed to be Andrew McElfresh is a very brainy kind of guy. So he's the professor, and Kevin is the guy who wants to learn. So, but really, what Kevin does is Andy is very easy to embarrass about anything sexual. So Kevin just fucking like lets him have it. He pulls out the cock, and it's long in that one. And
Kevin pulled out his cock on the what?
No. I mean, he just tries to whatever he can do, make any innuendo. Well, not innuendo. He just makes outright, sexual statements around Andy to get him embarrassed is a bonus. So while the show is based around science facts and all that, and they break it into 4 sections.
And what are the 4 sections? The
psi, the phi, the y, and the ultra sexy bi.
Yes.
What?
The psi, which is the
science.
The phi,
which is science as it relates to books and fiction, I guess. I can't even remember these.
The y.
The y is the audience asks a question to which Kevin proposes a possible answer.
Right. And then the bi is just...
And then the bi is goodbye facts before they close out the show.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Wow, and they do it live?
They do it, like a podcast. They do it at his house.
I've been completely out of the loop. So he does it as a live show?
No, well, they have done it live, but they usually do it up at his house.
I didn't know that McElfresh was a brainy fellow. I knew that he was in with the Wayans. That's what I knew about McElfresh.
Yes, he was indeed, too.
I believe he was one of the writers on White Chicks.
He was.
No,
in fact.
Yes, he was.
It is what it is.
Indeed, it's a film that got made.
So,
it is.
Tell us about Out to Win.
Yes, tell us about your latest.
I need to hear about this because
I'm
so intrigued.
It's just a documentary about gay athletes. We started filming it last year in February. We talked to a lot. I mean, it was very kind of lucky. It's very fortuitous that we kind of got it together, and we've been. I spent all last year kind of traveling around interviewing, these incredible athletes.
And all of these amazing people you met.
Martina Navratilova did, Billie Jean King, Jason Collins, Brittany Griner, Billy Bean. We've talked to some incredible, it's been an embarrassment of riches. So we put this movie together, and it worked out. Now we're doing our festival run in it right now. We just played South by Southwest, and we were just over in London. We're the closing night film in London, and now I'm going to Boston. I'm going to Boston next week, and then it's playing Hot Docs in Toronto. We went from South by Southwest, we went right to London, and then it's playing in Boston. We've been very, very fortuitous. It's been like that movie just kind of came. Like I can't believe the luck we got and the people we talked to, and it's just kind of because of the people we talked to, and because everybody was just so absolutely great. The movie worked out really well. I wish I could take more kind of credit for it. I wish I could be like, I'm the greatest. But it's literally, I've been very, very, with all 4 of my documentaries, I've been very privileged with the subject matter and the people that I've gotten to speak to who kind of elevate my bullshit, kind of, make me look better than I actually am.
Hey, you know what? George Washington was credited for having what his biggest talent was to be able to spot talent. So I don't even spot it. I stumble upon it. Like I'm just very, very lucky. Well, I've had the same kind of thing happen to me in my life, I think. So I salute you, sir.
Well, good on you. Well, so I salute you too. Mm-hmm. Wow. So I think we've talked about the man, the Kevin. So he's been on the show. What did he talk about? How do you get over the starstruckness if you're like, if the dude, man, how do you get over it? How do you deal with it?
I had met him twice before.
All right.
The first time we met him, we met Kev like it was the Montclair Film Festival, and he was amazing. And
he was.
Okay.
So that's why he pulled us back and took pictures and was real nice. And I asked him to be on the show at that point, but didn't have the wherewithal to get all the information to make that happen.
We were so
you got to get the info.
Yeah,
I know, but we were so starstruck.
We were shot out of our cannon,
so
to meet him at the time. It was the first time.
But he's he's just very, very. He's such a regular, kind of friendly, sweet guy that it's hard to remain starstruck, I imagine.
Yeah, no, he's very lovable, that's for sure.
So then the second time we met him was when he had been 5 days sugar-free.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, he must have been ornery.
He was miserable. He still has not dropped that show. He still has not dropped that show that was recorded there.
I know.
It was he opened it with "I would suck a cock for Lucky Charms" right now.
Charms.
Yeah. Where do you do that show?
That was it was during Comic-Con back in November.
Was that the Hammerstein?
At Hammerstein.
There's a Hammerstein bar.
Really? And was he grumpy during the whole show?
Oh, he was. It was more like I tell you. We went backstage after, and he looked
nice.
He looked like a man whose dog had just died.
Yeah,
he just looked. He seemed deflated.
And sadly, his dog just died.
Yeah, now his dog just died. And I didn't mean it that way.
His dog didn't die yet.
But yeah, it was just the sugar withdrawal.
No, I know you didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
I meant to say that.
Yes. Thank God.
Yeah,
finally caught up with him. No, not in any way. But yeah. So finally, the third time was a charm. At that meeting, we got all the information. We got hooked up with Ashley, and then everything took off from there.
All the stars aligned,
and really, one of the most important things I wanted to find out was if he was a fan of fucking Ishtar.
Oh my God, that was such a beautiful.
Everybody's a fan of Ishtar, aren't they?
That was such a beautiful.
No, a lot of people hate it because it was a flop.
Dangerous business.
Honest and popular don't go hand in hand.
I saw Ishtar in the theaters when I was a young man. I loved Ishtar.
Me too.
Ishtar, that was one of the first of many of movies that critics kind of made bombs before they were actually released.
I don't know. All I know is we saw it was a flop. I didn't see it in the theater. We definitely saw it on video. But a friend of mine who since passed, that was a special movie for us. So to kind of find out that Kevin was into it was like, oh, thank God.
And then he sang it with you.
Yes, we actually sang a little bit of that
my
together.
God.
I mean, you gotta like Ishtar.
Yeah.
It's like movies like Waterworld. Actually, Waterworld was I love that.
Everyone keeps bringing that up. I'm gonna have to revisit it because
Yeah.
I saw it in the
like
theater. And
Waterworld?
I felt like I was, but I was kind of.
Waterworld's a great movie,
Yeah.
and Kevin Costner is fucking amazing in it. Like that's a great movie.
I remember being really wrecked when I saw
I
it.
think we're going to have to see it because
We
you're
may
not
have to revisit that.
You are not the first person to say that.
Yeah, a
Like,
bunch of people have
No,
been saying
Waterworld's
that.
a great movie. Well, you know the latest great movie that everybody kind of shat on that was actually great is The Lone Ranger.
Oh, the
I
most
didn't
recent
see-
one?
Yeah, did you see
Well,
The Lone
Johnny
Ranger?
Depp.
I haven't seen
We
it yet.
haven't seen it.
I do want to see it.
The Lone Ranger, I bought all the bullshit that it sucked, whatever, and I rented it, and I was literally completely blown away. It is literally one of the funnest movies I've seen in the long. It's a big, crazy summer movie, and
Cool.
it doesn't get any of the credit that it deserved.
Well, I will check it out on
No,
your
it's
advice,
a
sir.
Lone Ranger, man.
I would have
It's
checked
great.
it out because Ralph Garman liked it, if I recall.
Ralph was a fan of Lone Ranger.
Yeah, he did
Has
like it.
Ralph been on the show?
Ralph has not been on the show.
Oh, that
You gotta
would be
get
great.
Ralph's good people. I like Ralph a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're definitely fans.
I'm totally not like I never ever got immersed in any of like my relationship was like I was friends with Kevin and like I was friends with Kevin and Jen and Megan. Like I was friends with like that was my and I would say that
You were at the center of the storm.
No, the furthest outside of the circle I go is like I'm friends with Mosier, I guess.
Oh wow.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like I don't like
That's
like,
family right
I've
there.
never spent.
We'd
any
love to have
time
Mosier on.
fucking-
Mosier's like our wet dream guest.
Yes.
Whom, oh yeah, you'll never be.
No,
I know.
no.
Notice he didn't ask as Mosier been on.
Mosier wouldn't do Blowhard.
Well, Mosier does Phoebe,
Yeah, but that's his own thing.
and I think he did What Say You, didn't
Mosier
he?
will do his own thing, but he's not going to do somebody else. Mosier's a cool cat, man. Like
So-
there's no.
He's a genius. He's a
I
comedic
wouldn't say
genius.
He's a genius, but I would say he's a very cool cat.
Oh, dude, like
I would
very
say
cool.
no stink's going to stick on him.
he's blossoming comedically on Smodcast. If you
He's
haven't
very
listened.
funny. Like, well, yeah, I mean that's the Smodcast. Like Smodcast is the brilliance of those two together.
Yeah, it really is.
Absolutely.
They're great.
Yes.
Look at that. The dude we just went on and we just ranted a material for 15 minutes.
How did you come up with Blowhard? Because, like you said, you rode the crest. You rode the wave.
I didn't come up. I mean, Kevin even I didn't even come up.
Did you
with,
want to
and
podcast?
Kevin out of nowhere. Kevin emailed me and was just like, "I'm going to do this thing, and you should do a podcast, and I'm going to get Brian and Walt to do a podcast." I was like, "All right." And I was like, who the fuck do I want to do a podcast with? I was like, I'm going to do a podcast with my mother. Because I've never heard of anybody doing that. I didn't know podcasts that well, but I was kind of like, I think it'd be really funny because my mom's nuts.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll do a podcast with my mother. And it's so funny. We did it, but my mom started hating it. And like, it was just it was just a harsh thing. And basically some people love my mother and some people really didn't like my mother. So it was very, very interesting. It was a very interesting dynamic. It was very weird to hear like, critics, like people criticizing my mother, not critics, but people criticizing my mother on the internet and stuff. You'd be like, hey, that's my mom. But then it's like, well, I'm the one who threw her out there, so you got to take it. So that was kind of interesting. And then kind of I folded that show because it was just too hard to do. And my mom just kind of didn't want to do it every week.
Yeah.
And then Kevin out of nowhere was just kind of like, why don't you do a show? And come to LA and we'll do a show, and me and you will do a show, and we'll just talk about your bullshit. And I was like, all right. So then I did it for a couple of times, and then it kind of grew. And then Kevin was wrapped up in Red State, so he basically he was doing so many shows that like I was like, all right, well, I'll just do my own thing. And then I found this person, Marja Lewis Ryan, who was amazing, who was this lesbian that I met on the festival tour. And she was a director. She made this movie, Four-Faced Liar. She's a brilliant, brilliant woman. And we ended up doing this podcast that was literally, all I would do was get her to explain lesbian sex. So essentially that's like, there was so much as her talking about like fucking.
Which one is that? Wait. Which shows were these?
Blowhard. If you listen to me and Marge on Blowhard, we talk so much about her like fucking her girlfriend with dildos and stuff. Like that's the thing. That's the spoonful of sugar.
Maybe I never made it through the whole run because I know I've heard the shows with your mom for sure.
Yeah, well, you see, the Marge stuff is where we went a little blue.
But
it was funny because after but Tell 'Em Steve Day was kind of growing and stuff, and then we got really. That was a really kind of weird dynamic because it got a little competitive for a bit, and then we got into a fight, and then Kevin was like, "You guys better fucking settle down." So we're like, "Okay."
Well, what's wrong with healthy competition?
It was really weird to see it branch off. I mean, I was never. Tell 'Em Steve Day was not really my brand of whimsy, so to speak. I mean, I know they've got the hugely popular show.
Yeah,
it's way too guy for me. That show was just way too guy.
Yeah,
like basically, I don't know. Gene is pretty. Do you listen to Tell 'Em Steve Day?
Yes,
Why? Yes, I do.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. So girls do listen to that.
She really likes Q too.
I like Q, and I like when he talks about.
Q's amazing. I would never. I don't know. It feels that the whole show seems a little objectifying and misogynist. I don't know. From the stuff that I've heard. Like I'm always seeing tweet like post pictures of your tits and stuff. It seems very weird.
Have you heard the latest audiobook, sir?
No.
Oh, well,
dude, I'm so far out of that world. Like I've maybe heard like 6 Tell 'Em Steve Days of my life, and that was the beginning. I have no fucking idea what those guys are up to now. I remember just seeing on Twitter and stuff some like pictures of like show us your like I don't know whatever. Why? What's the face? What's the they released an audiobook?
Yeah, this is actually their second, but
really?
Yeah,
they released a record for a while. They released a record a while ago.
And
I actually bought the record to support them, and then I sold it on eBay for like $250.
Wow!
I was like, that's a good profit. I was like, amazing. Because I'm like, well, I'm not ever gonna fucking listen to this record. And I remember I was low on cash, so I was selling a bunch of shit on eBay, and I was like, well, I'll sell that record. And it fucking went for $250. I was like, oh my god, I felt guilty. I think I included a T-shirt.
Wow.
Of from one of the movies or something. I just included it as a gift to be like, dude, I'm sorry you're paying this much for this record.
Did the person know they were getting it from you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that would matter, but yeah, I mean,
it might have mattered.
I didn't hide it. I wasn't like I'm secretly
signed it.
selling this. I bought it. I can sell it. I don't care. I had no use for it, so to speak. I bought it to support them, and then I was like, well, they got enough support.
Yeah, they got a lot of support on their video.
What's the book? Huh?
The book is sort of okay. They have a sponsor that they sort of created a character for their commercials. The sponsor.
Good for them. They got sponsors.
Yeah, Dollar Shave is the sponsor. It's one of these shave services.
I know that. I mean, I see that online all the time.
Yeah, I actually use them. But
God, I tried to get sponsors on fucking Blowhard. Kevin got us a sponsor that we had for a while, but it's just like. People just didn't need me. Like, it was just like, I am not the voice for anything.
So they created this character for the commercial that they called Dollar Shave. And then but the character was very based in 70s blaxploitation films.
Really?
Yeah. And it's Sunday Jeff doing it. So
I don't know who Sunday Jeff is.
Sunday Jeff is, he works in the stash on Sundays. He's just,
Sunday Jeff.
Yeah. He's I don't know. He's very vanilla looking, I guess. He's an older man. He's got silverish hair.
Getting very
he's not a black man. Is that what you're saying?
He's
not a black man. Yes.
But he's doing a black character.
Yes,
and I'm sure he's way over the top with it.
Oh yes.
Really?
Are you allowed
to do that?
I know. It doesn't seem like...
I think Amos and Andy did that on the radio at one point. I believe.
Damn, sir! Wow, they're doing that. They're doing that stuff. Wow.
Well, I mean, I don't know. There were moments I felt a little uncomfortable. I have to be honest.
I don't think it was meant to be that way.
Yeah, I think
they're meant to be like a soul brother.
Yeah, I think though when you're white, you kind of lose sight of what might be over the line. Maybe a little.
I wouldn't blame the entire white people. I mean, I think that there's a certain amount of ignorance and
Well, there is an awful lot of white privilege in the world.
Getting away with it. I mean, I don't know. It's
there's a lot of white privilege that puts blinders up.
It is what it is. Really? They're doing blackface stuff?
Did Amos and Andy wear blackface when on the radio? I don't know. So.
I'm sure we could find that out.
You know what? Literally, Amos and Andy is something that it was so illicit that it's something that I've never like. I heard Amos and Andy when I was a kid and stuff, but that was such even that stuff is so forbidden.
Yeah.
That I mean, I don't even know anything about the history of Amos and Andy. It's one of those things where it's just like, ooh,
right, and it's hard to even comment on it.
Well, it's just Amos and Andy. Yeah. It's just kind of like, literally, there is absolutely not a positive connotation. Nobody's ever spoken about Amos and Andy and been like, remember the good old days of Amos and Andy?
No, never.
It's always like people talk about Amos
you know
and
who?
It's our white shame.
Yes, it really is. It should be.
Amos and Andy is like white America's swastika.
Yeah. Well, so I forget who it was who said this joke, but like it's when you hear people and it's usually angry old white guys complaining that black people can use the N-word and they can't. And it's like, really? Do you really want to?
But people are making the argument of like, I can't use that word enough. That word it represents so much different than the word fuck.
Yes.
Like I got in trouble on Facebook the other day for using the word fag. And so, like another fellow person was just like, "How dare you?" And then, of course, they bring in, the argument of the N-word. Like that's the N-word. I'm like, "How dare you steal somebody else's oppression and co-opt it as your own?" Like, no, fag is not the N-word. The N-word is completely on a different basis. And look, and you're acting like a bit of a fag. So, yeah. So,
do you have a black friend? You're in Toronto, right?
Dude, I'm not touching. Like, I'm like, look, I'm staying away from the racy stuff.
Yeah.
I love black men, and I'm saying, like, I mean that in every sense of the word. I love black men. So
hey,
I love black women as well, but I love black men. So sorry.
That's okay. Where are you? Are you in Toronto?
I'm in Toronto, Canada.
It's cool.
It is very cold.
There's a guy up there named Dave Mater who looks a lot like you from a distance. Just saying.
What?
When we met Kevin, there was a lot of guys there who were all of the large persuasion.
Kevin does attract a fan base that has a very similar aesthetic to himself. Although now Kevin's all slim and shit.
Yes, he was amazing. There too. Yes, and he was actually shaving at the time.
Like now, those guys are like, Kevin. Now you couldn't recognize him. You would see somebody else that looked like the old Kevin. Be like, that's Kevin Smith.
He did. He walked right past us, and we had to do a double take because there were so many jerseys around. First of all.
And usually when you see Kevin, like he's coming
big.
Towards you. But he just kind of walked by, and I was like, oh, my God, that's Kevin.
And he had no beard, and he was skinny.
Yeah, the no beard thing. I saw a picture of that. That was weird.
That was weird.
Yeah, it was interesting.
The no beard was weird.
Baby face.
It was baby face Kevin. It's funny.
Well, there you go. We did a podcast.
Dude, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for coming on. You are welcome to come back anytime.
I'm just trying to think. Did I say anything that'll get me in trouble?
That if you spoke your mind, sir, and you are comfortable,
I will. I mean, the blowhard lives.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate having you. I'm so glad you took the time to do this, especially.
It was wonderful. Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Gene, for chasing me.
Yes. Thank you for tolerating me.
And you have an open invite.
Nothing to tolerate. You were nothing but wonderful and sweet, and that's kind of why I agreed. I was like, you were very polite, and you emailed me a couple of times, and you were relentless and respectful, and that's what got me here.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. It was a lot of fun, and good luck to you. Who's the next guy? Who are you going after next?
Well, our next guest is actually from the film Shooting Clerks. He's the guy who played Jay.
His name is Chris Bain. Yeah, his name is Chris Bain.
Yes, Chris Bain.
I got into, because I'm such a blowhard, I got into an argument with the guy who's directing it on Facebook.
Really?
Yeah, one time he posted something on one of my threads, and I was literally really hungover and really
Chris
miserable.
Downey.
And I was like, And I forget exactly what it was, but it was literally something I was like, oh, come on, dude, fuck off.
Yeah.
And then, like, basically, he got very jumpy about it. And he was just like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, dude, just don't worry about it. Just like he commented on something, and it just got me the wrong way. And I didn't even think about who it was at first. I'm like, oh, that's the shooting clerks guy. Oh,
he's a good kid. He's a good guy.
Facebook, literally, even people that I met, like, through, like, who I've never met in person, but basically who, like, became my friend through Blowhard or through my association with Kevin. Like, I see those people now on my Facebook, like, basically, like, they're now, like, it just feels like they're all my friends now. Like, when I'm on Facebook, it's just like, you follow these people. Like, I've been on Facebook now for 7 or 8 years. You follow your feed. You know, like, there's just certain people you've never, ever met before. You probably never will. But you know such ins and outs of their lives. You know, health problems, the relationship problems. And you kind of, like, start, like, they become your friends. Facebook is really weird that way. Like,
so is Twitter.
It creates these friends cyberly, and you're just kind of like, and you, like, literally, there's people I kind of like, you know, I know, I'll never meet them, but I know so much about them. Basically, because people really, and sometimes they really shouldn't, but people really pour their shit out on Facebook.
They do. You're right.
And it's hard not to kind of get an empathetic attachment and just kind of to follow. Like, it's Facebook is a very human thing. It's very much like, it's where people go to brag. It's where people go to vent. It's where people. So, I mean, I love the human experience that is Facebook. I find Facebook, like, the people are like, I can't believe anybody would deny. Like, those people who kind of like, I'm getting off Facebook forever. I don't want nothing to do with this.
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
It's such an incredibly bizarre part of the human experience. I don't know why anybody. It's literally.
It's becoming integral.
It's people watching without having to fucking even get yourself, like, it's literally people watching from your bedroom. Like, you don't even have to look outside.
From your phone. From your phone.
There you go. So I really enjoy that kind of aspect.
Yeah, me too. I heard recently that Facebook is where you go to lie to your friends, and Twitter is where you go to tell the truth to total strangers.
See, that sounds poetic, but it's bullshit. Like, it's not.
I've done a little bit of both, to tell you the truth.
That's such a goofy summary.
Yeah, that's cute. I liked it. It was
I know
pithy.
You like it. I know you think
pith.
It's clever, but I don't think it's true.
It had
so
great pith.
we can actually give him a little teaser, because we will be having somebody that we both admire very much on very soon.
Who?
Bob Hawke will be returning.
Bob Hawke will be returning.
Love Bob. Like, I cannot say how much I love Bob Hawke.
And I feel the same way. And I just can't wait for him to come back, because
he was a consultant He was a consultant on Out to Win. He was a consultant on Small Town Gay Bar as well.
Very cool.
Bob is a very wise man. Like, Bob is somebody who's definitely been very helpful in my career. Like, and it's so funny through Kevin. That's just more of the giving. Like, Kevin has introduced me to something incredible like Bob Hawke, who basically has been very nurturing to me and very helpful in my life. And to know people like Bob Hawke, it's such a fucking privilege, because he's just such a smart man. He's just got, he's just one of those people like him and John Pearson, who, John and Janet Pearson, who I got to be friends with through Kevin. There's just some really incredibly wonderful people who are so behind the scenes. And, Janet Pearson now is like running South by Southwest, but it's just like these incredible people that kind of, that I met through Kevin that kind of really helped guide me as well.
The indie film giants.
Yeah, it's so, like, it's such a ridiculous, like, literally, I'm just such a fucking little schmo that just kind of, I got so ridiculous. But dude, it's so comical.
You put yourself down, but in truth, those films. I'm not putting myself down.
Those
films are cut very well, and
but I'm not the editor. Kevin edits his own stuff. I have an editor. Like, literally,
do you work with your editor?
I met my editor. Like, this is how funny it is. I met my editor on my past 2 movies, Continental and Small Town Gay Bar. My editor is Sean Stanley, who's brothers with Warren Stanley, and Warren Stanley's very much involved. Or I don't know if he's so much anymore, because he's met a wonderful girl, and they're kind of very much together now. And I think that he's kind of, now he's got a girl. He's kind of spent his time with that.
So you don't cut with him?
No, dude, I'm telling a story.
Sorry.
Would you do that to Kevin? No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I would actually.
You would talk.
I would actually cut him off.
I'm just kidding.
It's tough.
Anyway, so I met Sean Stanley through Warren, his brother, and they were very much like Warren came to play hockey in Brantford and is very much part of that whole View Askew world. So I wouldn't have my editor. I wouldn't know my editor. He literally comes from that world. And he cut my podcast. My editor originally was cutting Blowhard for me, and basically he was doing such a good job with that, and he kind of really figured out my voice, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm making this movie. And he had never done anything like it before, and I was just like, well, here, just come and, try and edit this movie. And he did. He did a great fucking job, and then he just did Out to Win. He's a brilliant editor. Cool. But no, I don't sit in a room with him. He lives in London, Ontario.
Wow.
And I basically, we go over the footage and stuff, but he very much, he does it all his own.
Wow.
The editor is very much the screenwriter of the film. They don't get enough credit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially with documentary film, because it's all about, what do we got? We have to put this together into a
yeah, because I don't go in, when I do a documentary, I don't go in with a whole kind of, I don't have a 50-page treatment for I have ideas that I want to go do. Like, I've been so incredibly privileged, the fact that I've made 4 documentaries, and every documentary I've made has been independently financed, and I've gotten to very much be my own voice, and I don't really answer to anybody, and I get to kind of go do what I want. And that's helped me kind of hire the people that I want to hire, that, like people like Sean, who probably never would have got the job if I had to go through a studio or something. But literally, I hired a guy who cut my podcast.
That's amazing.
And he just proved that to be incredible. So it's been a real kind of privilege. But he gets for the editing. I'm not taking that credit. Like, no, he did a great job at cutting that.
See, but there you go. Back to that George Washington analogy. You have a great eye for talent, even if you don't acknowledge that you have a great eye for talent.
I mean, essentially, he proved it. Like, it's not a great eye for talent.
A good feel, a good,
That would be to take credit for his, like, I can't take credit for his talent because he exhibited talent. I'm like, hey, you're like, that's awesome.
You can take credit for acknowledging it and for giving him more opportunity as a result.
Yeah, but he earned it. I mean, it's certainly not. It wasn't kind of like he proved himself. So he got a chance, and it's such a wonderful thing that kind of like to see him kind of grow as an editor. Now he's just absolutely brilliant. I know that he's not going to work with anymore soon because he's too talented. He's going to often work for other people, and
he's going to be out of your price range.
No, I mean that's another thing I have to thank Kevin for. Is that like literally I met my editor. Like Scott Moser was one of the editors on Small Town Gay Bar. Like,
he's been doing a lot of editing lately.
Who, Scott?
Yeah.
I haven't really. It's so weird because I feel I've been so completely out of the loop. Like me and Kevin hadn't really seen each other in a long time, and then I just saw him in Toronto when he came here for. I hadn't seen him in probably about a year and a half, or maybe even 2 years. And then and then basically we hooked up again when he came to Toronto with his whatchamacallit, Tusk. And then like but it's like it's so great because it's like no time has passed. Like to see him and Jen again. And Muse and Jordan, like it was literally we hadn't seen each other for 2 years, but it's just like you just pick up like exactly where you left off.
That's a good friendship.
It is, but it's like no time has passed.
Yeah, that's a
like and it's so funny because like I just sent him an email the other day, and because I've been following the Mallrats too, because I like to kind of keep attention to kind of to what he's doing. I mean, because he always impresses me what he's doing. Like he always surprises me. And that's like for somebody I know as well as him, for him to surprise you as much as he does, that's a complete compliment. Like he always surprises me.
I surprised everybody on Monday morning.
What did he do on Monday morning?
Well, with the Mallrats jumping up and filming.
Oh, I see. I follow he didn't post that on Twitter, right?
No, but he let it go.
I think
on
he
Babylon.
said there's big news. But anyway, the thing about it is it just kind of it's so fun to. But I sent him an email. I was just like, dude, I've been following, and I'm. I'm so you have me so interested. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do with it. And he made a joke. He's like, you got to come back. You got to be we really need room for. I forget what he said, but basically in Mallrats, I'm in Mallrats. I play an extra.
Oh wow!
You don't know about one of the biggest in jokes in View Askew history.
Possibly not.
Maybe
I do. I don't know.
In Mallrats, I'm in it for like 3 seconds. There's a scene in Mallrats where Ray Humphrey is waving a videotape saying that she has the videotape of Shannon Hamilton.
Yes.
like she's at the top of. She's basically at. She's from a balcony. She's wavy tape. I'm to the left of her. I'm wearing a big lumberjack jacket. I look like a big dummy. I've got a goatee. But I looked terrified because I had literally Kevin was like, go be in the shot. And literally they threw me in there and they're like, action. And I was like, I looked petrified in the scene. And, Muse always found it fucking hysterical because I literally just looked like a fuck. So basically every time when we went to see,
I gotta go see the scene now. I gotta go look at it after this.
When Mallrats had its premiere at Comic-Con in 2005 in San Diego, the scene came on with me in it, and basically one person in the audience fucking started howling laughter, and it was Muse. I loved how dumb I looked. So when Jay and Silent Bob was being made. Kevin said for Jay and Silent Bob is bringing back everybody, to do something. At the end, he brings back, Jason Lee and all, the Tracer and all that shit.
Yep.
At the end of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, if you look to the right of Shannon Elizabeth and Will Ferrell, who are watching the time play,
oh no,
I'm standing there being a big extra while everybody's dancing around me. I'm motionless.
I think I did. Yeah, I do. I have remembered seeing you.
And people are like, "Why?" And I'm being a bad extra. So Kevin said in Mallrats 2 that I've got to come back and reprise my role as the bad extra.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Good.
Look at. Jesus Christ! I'm just not. I don't think I've.
You don't think you have time?
It feels. I haven't talked about any of this stuff in so long. I feel. I'm actually. It's nice to talk. I mean, I don't know.
It's good. I'm glad.
I miss those times. It was good time. I'm off making my goofy gay documentaries and stuff. I'm in my own world and
very cool.
I have my own people now, and he's doing his thing, and it's my own. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever said. I don't have my own people, but I have friends and stuff that I have more friends locally.
He said, actually, when we interviewed him, he was talking about how one of the other things that he had to do that was kind of bittersweet was when good friends would move on and start doing their own thing, standing on their own 2 feet, and going off and chasing their own dreams, but. Maybe he could have been referring to you, sir.
Maybe. I always said, there's that great thing where, Kevin taught me to fish. What's that thing?
Yes,
yes. Give the man a fish or whatever.
Yeah,
teach for a day. If you teach him to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. Kevin taught me how to fish. He literally, in every aspect of that metaphor, he taught me how to fish. So now I have the privilege to go out and stand on my own 2 feet.
He still teaches me to fish.
Huh?
He still teaches me to fish. I gave up the sugar thing too. I lost 40 pounds.
See, isn't that this fucking the guy's a modern day Christ. He's a modern day Christ.
He pretty much is, yeah.
My God.
Yeah,
and you've got a podcast for him. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Dude, you have no idea. It blows my mind every day.
I know, it's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Again, I appreciate you being on.
Dude, there you go.
It was second round there.
I don't know if you're going to be able to use any of this. Woohoo!
I usually cut myself out most.
He cuts himself
You got a hell
out.
of a woman there, sir.
I love it to death. You have no idea.
But we wanted to thank you for coming on, and it was.
Oh
great.
no, man, and no, thank you guys so much. It was really cool, and I'm sorry I was hard. It's literally been a really hellish kind of past couple of months, but I'm really happy I got a chance to do it. And I think it's great. It's a great idea what you guys are doing.
Yeah. Well, on this show, you're like royalty, so
yes,
the door's always open.
You're being far too complimentary, but that's a very sweet thing to say. Thank you.
And I hope that maybe you'll be on again.
I would love to. I would totally. You guys are great. It would be a blast.
If you ever get to New York or New Jersey, we could do it in-house.
There you go. I would totally do that.
Cool.
I'll be in New York in the summer, and I'll invite you. We'll probably be screening the movie, and I'll have you guys come up.
Oh,
that would
awesome.
That would be awesome.
I'll totally keep in touch, and I'll let you guys know when it'll probably be sometime this summer.
Yes.
Okay. Definitely stay in touch with Jean, because she's the communicator of the two.
I will do. Awesome, guys. Well, it was fun to spend some time with you, man. But Good luck cutting all my gibberish, and have a great night, guys.
Thanks,
you made
Malcolm.
Gene's night. You have no idea.
You made my night.
I'm glad. No, I had a lot of fun too. Thank you. It was nice to reminisce.
Thank you.
Man.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
There you go. That was Malcolm Ingram.